It's time for change to move into the real work of the universe. And it's time to understand that we use the matter state to reach the level of understanding of the soul of the man. Now you understand maybe why the Creator has sent His messengers in the name of whatever you have had. Is that they bring the ears that it can be used when the time of the Messiah comes. They can teach the soul and the message, not to oppose. But by them understanding through those who have become Messiahs to give from their souls to these to elevate, the job is made easy. The school is there and the students are devotedly there. Then there won't be any fight between what they call the Muslims and the Christians. The lamb and the lion will eat and sleep in the same nest. The Christians and the Muslims will sleep and pray in the mosque and in the same church in the name of their souls, not in the name of religion that is used to create so much conflict for the benefit of those who were the hyperactive children. The time has come, the time of change is here. And as I said, my wish is my command. If it's your wish to see peace, the path of peace is laid very clearly. It's the soul of the collective awareness. By giving will create that position of change. No other thing. There is no pen in the soul of the man. And I'm sure once you go into the universal community, you will never see anything written but the balance of the fields of the soul of the existence. Try to be humble enough not to become arrogant in the power that you have understood and you possess. Otherwise, you'll fall in the same path of the church and the mosque. This is what we promised, and this is what we have delivered. We have to understand the operation of the soul, and we have to understand the soul of the man is a star in the cosmos of the universe. If we compare the soul of the man and many of us, 7 billion in one collection, Earth is like a galaxy with so many stars. When we look in the depth of the universe, we see galaxies with hundreds of millions of stars in it. So is the planet Earth. It carries 7 billion beautiful stars, which are the soul of the man. Carries with it soul of so many trillions of animals, plants, and everything else. So if you look, when someone who does not see the physicality of the earth and its content, what do they see? They see a galaxy with so many beautiful lights shining, each one according to their strength, each one according to their position. An infant has a beautiful soul, so has the old man. To those who do not see the physical dimension of this planet, but they see the strength of the field, we are clusters of stars. The human race, every single soul, no one from a distance sees, that's the soul of a fisherman, that's the soul of the cosmologist, that's the soul of a president. They all shine irrespective of the physicality. This is the magic. This is what the new science has to bring to man. When we look through our soul, we see nothing but we star in the other souls. And this is the break. This is the understanding. This is what all these teachings are about. Coming to mature to the next level, to understand in the deep space, the universe is the oyster for those souls who serve. Then man is ready to go into space. Then man is ready to become part of the universal community which has been promised. I never promised you heaven. I always promised you the elevation of the man to join the family. And now you have the key. It's you who has to open the door to understand, if I can raise the soul of these people or millions of other souls, that the physical life on this planet changes, then I'm worthy to be part of the universal community. To be there to serve, to expand. To be there, to be part, that in the cycle of life of universe, I become, in being part, I become part of the totality. When man reaches that point, a new dimension in the strength of the soul of the man will appear, which is beyond imagination of understanding of the physical life. It's the gate to the opening of the new life, in a new dimension, which is beyond imagination of what you might call a new beginning, a new cycle. Which that cycle carries with itself the origin of the creation of life in the universe. It's the elevation of the soul to serve become the key, not a throne of the physical life. The time is right. The time has come for the man to go through this process.
Welcome everyone to the 75th One Nation, One Planet, One Race for World Peace. It's Tuesday, May 7th, 2019. I'm your host, Rick Crammond, today, along with Flint Mulhausen. And as usual, we're joined with Carolina Keshe of the Keshe Foundation. And she will lead today's teaching about in this public broadcast from the Keshe Foundation Spaceship Institute. All right, are you there, Carolina? Have you stabilized yet?
Yes, Rick, I made it. We are stable. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening to every single one of you. It's our first session again after a break, which most of us dearly appreciated, for the time out, to be able to restart fresh again. And in the meantime, a lot of things have happened and taken place, as we all have witnessed. The teachings of Mr. Keshe have taken the turn and the direction of, and fully on soul level, and they're becoming very clear into what mankind needs to start taking their responsibilities, and we can support where we see that the points where Mr. Keshe was pointing out, we see through the news and the other social media, we get the information that he's indicating and in what directions he's indicating. As before, we have released a lot of wishes. Today, we will try to take care of 2 wishes from the Universal Council. And I think if we listen to part of Mr. Keshe's last Thursday teaching, I think there will be a few more wishes coming out of there as well. I would love to ask the public if they have any questions or if they would like to share something with us. Is there anybody available with wishes or sharing knowledge or suggestions? Or do you want to come in later on? Because it's usually quiet, isn't it, Rick, in the morning?
Yes, it is, but we have quite a few of the UC members here, so perhaps somebody would like to go ahead. I see that Paul has his microphone open. Hi, Paul.
Hi, Rick. Hi, everyone. Can you hear my voice clearly?
Yes, there's a bit of noise in the background there. Be careful with the microphone. Otherwise, go ahead, Paul.
Okay, thank you. So I would like to share something about what you call the mission of the UC member. You know, the UC member work is not easy. And to achieve this mission, the UC member needs to solve certain things as human resource and other elements. And the most hard work is to success, to have the right man around UC members to be able to achieve this mission. And when we follow very carefully what happened with the foundation and Mr. Keshe, we can be enlightened about certain things. I am going to share about my mission in Togo and some difficulty about human resource. I try to build some teams for us to help foundation to achieve the mission of peace for human beings. And first of all, I make sure that everyone have signed peace treaty. And when we see the contents of peace treaty, when we sign it with our soul, we should become the peace man on this planet. And I have got some experience. Certain person can say bad experience, but I say it is good experience about human resource. The team I have built here, one of the person have tried to sabotage the plan, have tried to create certain trouble in the group. And what that person have done exactly is to complain against my person at the name of the foundation at the justice. This was 28 March 2019. So as transparency is imposed to the UC members, I was transparent with everyone. But I was also very clever because I have learned a lot about what Mr. Keshe and the foundation have got as experience. And what was the accusation? The person and the other person for them, and then I have stolen it. And you know, when we send certain things, we have at the national level what we call the recording. Around 20 years, we can get all recording of what have been sent at the name of one person. So when we go to the justice, I just ask the person to give the proof. Before going to the justice, I say, we need the proof. You know, when we send something by the Harvard, we have the bill of loading. So from the bill of loading, we can check if something have been sent or not. So that having been done, that was fake accusation. And before that done, the person try to get certain contacts at the justice for them to associate and put me in the prison. Why? I don't know. Just to share that one with all of us, to show that our mission is not easy, but we need to be encouraged by our soul, by human soul, to be able to achieve that mission. You know, every time Mr. Keshe have been attacked, and it is certain time difficult to understand how. When I got to this experience with the nearest person to me, the nearest person is that I almost share all my life with that person. Almost sometimes live with that person, eat with that person. But that person have tried to sabotage the plan by lying at the justice, at the name of the foundation, after signing the peace treaty. And when that finish, we finish at the justice, I send you a message to say, I offer you peace. I was thinking that that person have really received the peace in his soul. But I have, and that is not the kind of the human source, the resource we need to achieve our mission, the mission of peace. When somebody go again the ethos of the foundation and is the part of the foundation, we think that there is misconduct And as Mr. Keshe have said, last teaching, there is no punishment, but we hello.
Hi, Paul.
So
I think we lost the last sentence there, part of the last sentence, perhaps. Go ahead. Hello, Paul. We can't hear you right now. Hello?
peace, yeah.
Yeah, we couldn't hear you in the last half a minute or so there, Paul.
Keshe Foundation, and follow the teaching about the ethos of the foundation, and have be here like that. We wish as man of peace for that person, because lying and try to disturb somebody or the group is not correct. And I wish peace for Matthias Gigerbu Walyap Moyapt. It is that person who have made this fake accusation at the justice. And I have asked, because this create what we call the conflictual situation, and everybody is afraid. I asked one meeting for the team of Keshe Foundation Togo to exclude that person from our team for everyone to be in peace and help to achieve that mission. When we get somebody in the group or in the team that we don't have confidence, that person, we know that he can lie to everybody to any time. We need to let that soul for them to correct themselves and then come back. So what I have to share with you is that it is not easy, but we need to understand that this kind of difficulty will make us more strong man to serve human race, strong man to help to correct human race. I will wish for all UC members the same strong mind for everyone to be able to go over the difficulty in the area that they are. So I wish peace for Matthias, and I wish peace and encouragement for all UC members. Thank you.
Hey, thank you, Paul. Still there, Carolina?
Yes, I am. Just a push of a button. Thank you, Paul, for sharing. Yeah, these are all little tips of icebergs. what Mr. Keshe is bringing into public domain, and then some knowledge seekers and some council members then experience within their own. And these are not nice, but on the other hand, we learn from it. If we don't take the negative from it, but we look what we learn from through the process, you always have added something to that you can say, I learned something new. It doesn't need always to be, or it doesn't always come as a pleasant factor, but it can come as a test. How strong are you? How solid are you in what you stand for? And is that perseverance, we say, that will be the outcome of whatever you decide on your path in your direction. It's unfortunate, but as Mr. Keshe said, and I still remember that picture in Rome, but I trust humanity. And I said, we will remove one letter at a time whenever we achieve a change for peace. And as Mr. Keshe, he just came to me, he said, who give you the authorization to change what I have written down? I said, we can try, and we don't need to give up. And we have achieved so much through all our wishes. We have achieved those positive points over and over again, the changes. So why give up? We are already where we are supposed to be. We are just on a journey to unite, that we are not individuals. We are not alone. And we are growing every day. More and more new people are coming in. But you have to understand, especially after last Thursday's teaching, I listened to it over and over and over again. And the funny thing is that, as Flint says, when you listen to a video, a YouTube recording, if you get kicked out, you always get brought back to where you got kicked out. And I said, no, I keep on getting put back to a certain point. And I know, because I keep an eye on the clock of the teaching, I said I should be 2 hours, 2 hours and a half in the teaching, but it keeps on bringing me back to the point of 1.5 hours. And I thought, there must be a message to share. There must be a lot of information there that keeps on putting me back at the same point over and over again. At first, I thought the computer just made a mistake, or it was something, I did. But I just checked it before the teaching with the entry of the program, and it just brought me back. And I sent the message to Flint. I said, it restarts at 1:30. So I think it would be wise to go and listen to it, because there must be somewhere something in there. Maybe it's 5 minutes, maybe it's 10 minutes. We will find out what that message is. If Flint maybe could bring it forward. Is that possible, Flint?
Yes. I brought it back a little bit to about hour 24, so 5 minutes there.
Yeah, that's fine, Flint. Don't worry. It just keeps on bringing it back to this point. So maybe it's something we can all work with today.
There is no punishment. This process of understanding is very simple. It comes with a maturity of time. We, as you are Iranian, the Persian Empire did the same thing centuries ago, till they found out, they matured to it. We've seen the same with the Romans and the Greeks. We've seen the same with the Chinese. But now, it's due to development of the science, these things cannot be done anymore. These new children in the block have one choice: to become obedient, or we make them obedient. It's very, very simple. The process is set. The understanding is there. It's just that who wants to be the unruly child and who wants to be the guys who wants to follow the path. Because the opening into universal community does not become as part of now the mankind get access to the universe and they start doing one against the other, what they call British rule, divide and rule. We do not need to divide. And believe us, we do not need to rule either. We already are the rulers. The process is very, very simple. Many nations have matured to understand the totality. And some nations, they think they can become arrogant to do. So our job is very simple: to stop the arrogance or to stop the nation. The strangest thing is, and very, very strangest thing is, we've seen unnecessary massacres in the past few days on the name of one religion to the other. We've seen the Muslims, in the name of Islam, attacking Christians. We see the Christians blow up the mosques. We see the Jews killing the whole lot of Palestinians. And when they do it, there's nothing done. Nothing is wrong. When the others are, it has to be highlighted. But where and why mankind needs arms, why mankind needs weapons, why mankind needs all these things of destruction, for what reason? And who is promoting this? What should be a point of destruction for any nation or race? This is the problem. This is what we're trying to correct and bring out in the right way. This is what we have worked so hard to stop. This is what we do not understand.
What about those people who are doing wrong because of poverty? Like there are some classes in some countries driven into poverty little by little. And then
poverty doesn't give you the right to commit crime.
Yeah, but if they don't have money to pay the rent.
You see, this is what we say. It's the job of the leaders to make sure these things don't happen.
Yes, that's right. And they don't do
it. Now they have to do it. We have no choice. We strictly have no choice. Or in so many ways, we are given no choice.
It is even said that they do it by purpose to push people in poverty and difficulty so that they don't put their nose into what they don't like them to look at.
You know, the easiest thing is, look what happened. They created such a mayhem to rob the, what they call with the spring uprising.
Yes.
With the Syrians, with the Libyans. Where are these people sitting around Europe? How many of the Syrians and the Libyans appeared in China or in India? Those who created it, now they're sitting on their doorway, but with the pain. It's us who doesn't understand. It comes back to us. And this is part of, we've thought mankind has not learned, so we will teach man to learn. You know, when we were in a school, we had, if we didn't learn something, the teacher sent us home that you have to do the same line 10 times tomorrow morning. Is it time for that? But it's collectively with all the races at the moment. We saw this year, if you look at it, a head of a nation is proud to increase his military expenditure by another so many billion, and he's proud to be. And we hear the second most powerful nation this year has reduced its military defense cost because they want to spend the funds on the nation. When you have an old grandmother, she needs a lot of looking after and cares. She needs home, she needs somebody to wash and clean, she needs somebody to do the shopping. The new nation weapon technology is so advanced that you don't need to spend that kind of money. So you reduce your expenditure, but you increase your power. And this is what we see with nations like China. But that investment, making you more powerful, they spend on the nation to bring the poor and poverty out of the line. I said before, and I say that clearly to the world leaders, you touch Iran, I wipe out one race in totality, unless mankind learns to live in peace. And I don't need to say which color, which race, and which nation. That's the warning to those who think they're going to get away with it. Did we find Mayas where they are? We find this race and nation in 1,000 years, if they are there anymore. Mankind has to stop this behavior of animal behavior. In a very short time, we release production of oil at zero cost to any nation. I want to know, what do you boycott? The way I showed we can make blood, I can make you as much oil as you like. Why there is such a pressure on Iran? Because now America has become an oil producer and Iran is a competition. Venezuela is a competition. Up to now they were users. Now, by doing so much wrong, the rest has to be stopped, that they can control now the oil industry as they did the grain. We release a knowledge to produce oil as much as you like. You never dig a single piece out of the ground. This is a warning to the American administration, direct warning. Do not test my patience. If I could make blood which made the man, oil is nothing compared to it. If we don't see the end of conflicts, and mankind will make exemplary one race, one administration, one nation, for the rest to learn. If we could not teach with kindness and love, we show it with the fear. Many times I said, my technology will be accepted out of the fear and not because of the love of it. Don't test me to create that fear. Then it loses its value. I help, black, white, yellow. Doesn't matter whatever color, race, religion, and the rest. But my patience has come to a very, very tiny bit. And for me to take a color and a race and a religion, path of belief, thoughts, is a push of a thought, not even a button. Do you remember what I said about Muhammad and why the Jews became nomads around the world? Because he punished the Jews for what they did to the Christ. And we see them for 1400 years, they've been running around the world without a nation. You remember who was the teacher of Muhammad? The same soul. It's the same soul and no changes. Instead of spending all these finances on killing, spend these finances on giving. Give to the nations the ways to live, the ways to do. These
I
recordings
think that would be
are
okay.
very soon.
That's a lot of food for thoughts, as we say. Anybody, any questions, or who wants to open it up more, in more understanding what we can do? As majority of us have signed the World Peace Treaty, we know what Mr. Keshe is referring to. And Paul opened it up. Anybody?
Hello, Carolina. It's Peggy.
Hi, Peggy.
I just have one quick sentence that I would like to say. I give from my soul for the USA to be at peace with all nations. Thank you.
You're welcome. But as so many remembered when Mr. Keshe, he was overriding a wish we were working on. And he said, they all need to be elevated. We cannot progress one ahead of the other. I think we're gonna have to be very sensible in as long as the warnings are warnings, we can make the change. I think it would be wise to create a call upon all the knowledge seekers worldwide. I know there are a lot of different languages here present, but to literally go through your social networks and call them up for the wish for the totality of mankind to elevate in a peaceful manner. That we don't need to be choosy, because before we started, there was a conversation going on between Rick and Flint and Vince and me. And we came back to the same conclusion, didn't we, Rick, that there are people dying all over this planet. People are getting harmed and hurt all over this planet. It is air pollution, it's poisoning, it's vaccination, it's contamination, it's accidents, it's done on purpose, it's not done on purpose, it's illness, we have so many people going through so much heartache, starvation, war zones. And we cannot exclude one above the other. Because I brought one topic up and then Rick said, my God, he says, but there are quadruple people dying of this and nobody talks about it. And there are more people dying from this and it's all real. It's all happening. It gets served through our network on our day-to-day basis. We get informed about, and it touches us. We always said, if we touch the majority of the peacefulness, we will reach the totality because we have the majority. And as the Keshe Foundation family is growing rapidly, enormously, it is amazing. Why don't we work till next week? Not for once, not for 2 times, but intensively for a whole week. We send our peace messages out. You can work each individual for what you wish, what you want to add. But bear in mind, it has to be already done for it to work. You see the peace. You have to be the peace. Would that be a good idea? Or has anyone suggestions?
Thank you, Carolina. And I'll remind the attendees, you can put your hand up if you'd like to speak here. When you were talking, Carolina, it reminded me that when we talk about all this suffering that's going on our planet with the various aspects, in a way that when we talk about that suffering, then we're accenting the physicality end of things in a way. It seems like we're focusing on a physical thing. It could be a natural disaster, for example, and there's many humans that would be suffering from that disaster. But at the same time, if we were perhaps to change our perspective, and instead of focusing on the human suffering, what is happening on the soul level? And it's been mentioned many times, there's that old saying, no pain, no gain, and that kind of thing. And it seems like the suffering, when we get through our personal suffering, whatever that is, when we go through a period of suffering and then we get some kind of relief, or even if we don't get the relief, that is a time to, what happens on the soul level? Is the soul actually suffering through all that, or does it observe the suffering of the physicality? So the soul, to me, is not actually suffering. In fact, it can grow stronger over those suffering intervals. It in fact, our physicality gets stronger too, because we start to focus on the things that are really important during those stress times. Maybe the family connections or your closest friends become more important, or perhaps your soul connections become more important than I don't know, money, or perhaps even food or other things. Those actual deep connections become more prevalent and more experienced. So in a way, the suffering to the soul might be not a good thing exactly, but let's say that it can take advantage of that suffering and become stronger. And maybe that's the hidden blessing in all of the suffering that goes on. And in that way, how do we as soul beings, where we feel this suffering, but at the same time, we are to be detached and impartial to such things of the physicality. So this seems to be the dilemma that, to me, that we are faced with on this planet, is where to know where to apply ourselves in a way. Where do we take action and try to actually change things? And where are we better off just trying to understand what's going on and to observe it rather than change it? Because the act of changing one thing could change things for others, just as you were saying that Mr. Keshe was saying. For example, with Peggy's wish here, I give from my soul for the USA to be a peace for all nations, which seems on the surface a very noble and very great wish. But at the same time, does that, by saying that only the USA is at peace for all nations, that implies, well, what about all the other nations? Shouldn't they be at peace with all nations as well? And if we're omitting them by focusing on one nation, then we're taking away from their opportunity at the same time, kind of. So that's some of my thoughts on the matter, just to throw that in.
Thank you, Rick. It's very nice what you are opening up. It's been going through my head since last week, what this teaching meant, what this teaching has brought, and the 3 previous teachings. And they all have gone through the same direction. Our soul is suffering, but it doesn't commit whatever the physicality is doing. It learns from it, and it uses it as like an information. But then I came back to the point, it's funny, and I think a lot of people will agree with this, that is that from now on, it's like, you know, that your eyes are not only belonging to your physicality, I mean to your day-to-day life. If you have understood that your soul is watching and overviewing what you say, how you behave, how you interact, it becomes like a consciousness that is awakened more than before. it becomes more and more apparent to my soul is with me everywhere. She sees everything. She notices, she hears, she's unlimited, she can travel, she's present. So if my soul is my guidance, I can only ask for my soul to guide me in my physicality to prevent habitual behavior but my thoughts were going more in how have we been brought up? Majority, 99.99%, we are making mistakes out of fear. If you really go down to the bottom of the mistakes, whatever mistakes, we call them mistakes, whatever we have done has had a root into fear. It has had a root in to protect ourselves, not to lose something, but every single word goes back into we were afraid of something. And this is how the whole society has been brought up. And this is the imprint that especially mothers should start being aware of, not to allow what was to go in a new imprint in our children. We can still uproot it. Even the fear between girls and boys should be stronger, girls should be more girly and do this, and the separation path we are creating creates a twig and a split between. How many times have you observed that boys and girls, when they are in their puberty, they laugh at one another, they make jokes, they humiliate sometimes the opposite, but they are forgetting that in 3 years they will become their partners. So they take all their aggravation out, they take all this not nice, not always so very nice things out to the opposite sex. It's not one way. Isn't it time for us as mothers and fathers to bring those awarenesses to our children that one day that opposite will become your partner and you will be so crazy in love, but then you have to pay the correction? What have you and how have you treated that person before? And I think that is the point of understanding that you can't get away from whatever you have done wrong. And Mr. Keshe made it very clear last Thursday. He says, we don't ask you to come and explain or to come with excuses. We just simply ask you to change. Just change. Make that decision to walk off, to become aware of the path. And I think we need to look into all those kind of social structures. And that is where my calling up sits. Because the change will be like a building block from all different angles, all different knowledge seekers, thousands and thousands of them. If we can reach them through social networks and platforms to call up for peace, as Mr. Keshe said, my patience is running out and I have the okay to turn the switch. Maybe that was the reason why that teaching just kept on going back to that same point over and over again. It doesn't matter in which way individual we can achieve that peaceful point if we acknowledge it where our root problem sits. And we all have been young, and this was just a small example. How did we behave towards the opposite? And then later on, 2, 3, 4 years later, they become your partner. And then you get married and you have children. But the price still will serve, or the correction will still be served for how you behaved those few years before. That's the part of the soul which Mr. Keshe was trying to explain. Your soul informs and works with it in the positive way. So if you can feel then the pain of what you caused the other person, then you will stop to create that kind of pain. It's an awareness, and you don't need to justify. If you just realize it and you change your direction and you change your path, or you try to be on top of it, it's not going to be easy. We have a learning pattern, we have a school pattern, we have a social structure pattern, we have a religion pattern. We have to be able to get out of it. And I think the best way is to start individual. If there is a say, if you want to change the world, start within yourself. And all those little changes, when you start noticing those differences, can bring that change. We don't need to go through, see the examples of what Mr. Keshe has explained. That's exactly what I said in Rome when that picture came up. I said, we can change letter by each thing that we achieve positive. We can reach. As a council member, I brought this topic on the table because it has not left me very peaceful since the last Thursday morning teaching. I'm trying to see where we can reach, what we can do to bring the peace among all, not just a few. And that's the reason why I was calling upon to go through your social networks every day, really, because it's getting very hot in certain places which it should not get hot at all. And we can cool it down. Anybody, any suggestions to create the wish for that?
So your idea, Carolina, is the wish for like balance between the hot spots of the earth, as you call them, the places of conflict or stress where people are particularly stressed out on planet Earth. Is that what you mean?
I think, yeah, you're right. But I think that we can activate it. It just brought back a memory with you saying this. Do you remember where Mr. Keshe was saying and explaining that the whole humanity has reached the level of understanding between right and wrong? So humanity has reached the level of all the prophets of the past. You remember that one?
Yeah, I was just going to add that part to it. Yes, exactly.
Yeah. So what if we create the wish for humanity to work or activate in a way the way we are going to compose this wish to the knowledge of right, between right and wrong? Would that be sufficient enough, Rick? What do you think? Or anyone else?
That humanity attains the knowledge of right and wrong. Is that what you're saying?
Yeah. Maybe that needs to be activated. Because if we create the awareness, we put it in position.
Well, perhaps that knowledge of right and wrong ties back into what you said earlier, when you said the word consciousness, this idea of being conscious of our choices and conscious of our habits and conscious of the suffering around us, and generally conscious, being present and being conscious and aware in the moment. And then from that point, we can make the correct decisions and correct choices and so on. It seems to be important. Otherwise, what is it that would make people suddenly make the correct choice if they haven't for the past millennia, for example? What is it that's going to change in each individual that enables them to see the difference between something that's a choice that's going to work for them and others, and a choice that's not going to work, and it's going to introduce conflict and additional suffering and even more, disaster or whatever.
Do you know when we created the wish about the truth, yeah, to work that the truth comes on the table, if you create that starting point for humanity to know that they know instantly what is right and what is wrong and the difference between it, that is what we can activate for the totality. That they know the truth and the correctness between right and wrong, and we all send them on the path of correctness. Then we don't judge, because for what might be looking wrong for us might be looking right for them, or the outcome might be right for them. You understand? So we don't
exactly, yeah. So yeah, that what you say rings that bell of truth within me, you might say. And it makes me realize that for some time since I was younger, and I had the opportunity of awakening that bell of truth, or finding that within myself, that there is a place that when I hear something, or when I see something, or when I experience something, it either rings that bell of truth or it doesn't. And when that bell of truth gets rung, then whatever is presented, or whatever I hear or say, or whatever is true, at least in that moment for me experiencing it, and seems to be of some sort of universal truth to it as well, let's say. But at least it's true to my knowledge, full knowledge at that time, let's say. So if it seems like what you're saying, if somehow we can, not we, but maybe if the universe is allowing at this time that this bell of truth is being awakened in the humans of planet Earth, then perhaps that's all that really needs to get done as such. All the details get worked out from that point. If everyone is able to evaluate what they're doing and the situation with that bell of truth not covered up and not hidden, because most of our activities on planet Earth seem to be designed to hide that bell of truth and put other illusions in front of us that are tempting us and making us want to fall off the path or stray off the path or whatever. So maybe that ringing of the bell of truth is all that really needs to take place. I'm projecting here. So how would you like to have this wish? How can we put it down in black and white here, Carolina, to start the process? And we can work on it. How would you like it here? What about, it has to do with truth, and what about that? How would you like to phrase that?
We have learned a new way of creating wishes, as you have seen in the latest wishes that have come into public domain, pardon, from the council, is we wish we are present. Which means we do not need to confirm again, I am present, because all who is within the wish today present in this public domain, or whoever listens even after this recording, they automatically become part of that wish. By reading it, by coming and listen to it, it means they are seeking for knowledge. So if we maybe might phrase it and create even a bigger picture, we humanity, we are present, then we include all. Because the ones who can't read or who can't hear, we include them in this wish. When it's with, because it rang a bell when Mr. Keshe said, the whole humanity has elevated to the level of all the prophets of the past in the knowledge of knowing the difference between right and wrong. And even if you test it with every single chart, you can see it is there, it is apparent. They know exactly where they are and if it's right or if it's wrong. And if you are not sure, just go and look at the cute videos about little children which have been naughty. It is amazing how you can read the body language that they know they did something wrong. Not necessarily that they have to be fearful or anything, but you can see the reaction. They've been caught in the act, being so busy, but when you stop them and they realize with what they've been up to, using mom's makeup or the flowering the whole kitchen down or the whole living room, when you stand them still, they know they've been up to something. And that's the beauty in it, which gives you the confirmation we know. So if we put this in an active point that we know the difference between the right and the wrong for the totality of the humanity, I think we're going to open a beautiful door.
Well, okay, you mentioned, like, let's take that instance that you brought up, that example of with the children, and when they are busted basically, and they're in the middle of eating that cake or whatever it is that they weren't supposed to be doing. What is it when you mention the word standing still, for example, when you get their attention and they stand still, and then they experience their own incorrectness, or they are able to observe their own behavior, let's say. So what is it about this idea of standing still that you've mentioned here, but also you've mentioned it, thousands of times, and it's come up a lot. Maybe we should examine that a little more. What is the actual mechanism in there that can be applied to the hyperactive children that are running the planet in the same manner, perhaps?
I don't know. I give it to the public platform. I've seen a lot of posts appearing with different inputs. Mr. Keshe has asked quite a few times throughout his teachings. He says, does humanity really want peace, or is it just a show? And they just want to be carrying on with what they do and use any excuse not to face or not to work towards the truth. The warning signals have been everywhere. Why? I just saw somewhere somebody posting something like, we cannot be present in every wish here unless we decide to be. We are responsible for what we share. What is wrong in creating a wish for the totality to elevate to the level of peace? I have no problem taking responsibility to elevate the souls to the level of the understanding the right between the right and the wrong, to create that peaceful balance. Why should there be a hesitation of why the fear of holding back? If we know that if we see the picture of the totality in a peaceful way, choosing between the right and the wrong, we activate that button which is already elevated in us. We already reached that level. Because as Mr. Keshe said, there will be no other prophet for a long, long, long time. There will be no other teacher. Not the way Mr. Keshe has come today and appeared a few years ago to achieve world peace. Why holding back if we can bring the elevation of the totality? That's why I brought the points of the fear on the table. Because nobody can take nothing from nobody, can only give. That's what Mr. Keshe said. Why not give? Why not look where to serve? Nothing is taken because we are all part of one another. That's why I opened the door to put the wish on the table. There are a few core members on this platform. They are very experienced in working through the soul and creating the wishes. Maybe they can give us a few hints in how to start this wish. Or Universal Councils or Earth Council members. Is it time to hold back for what was taught and explained last week? Do we still have time to hold back, or do we all want to be part that we elevate all of them to the level of understanding to become peaceful? Vince, I'm gonna take your name to start. You're a core member. Sander is a core member. Rick, you are a core member. Where can you guide us to open this platform up? Are you there, Vince? Anybody from the council members? How can we create the wish to literally activate that elevation? And in what direction? What are we going to work on?
There's a there's a way of doing it that I used to work with and still do, which is that for anything that you do, that you make a wish before doing it, and the wish would be, I wish for the results of this action to be used for the benefit of all beings everywhere. And that wish takes away the personal aspect, the physicality aspect in a way. You're making your the thing that you're going to do, whether it's on the mental, emotional, or physical level, whatever movement that is dedicated to all beings, because normally it's dedicated to me. When we do our things and we make our choices in life, it's almost always with me involved, not with everyone else considered. But if we dedicate the things we do to the benefit of all beings everywhere, and actually say that aloud, or at least to oneself, but it's more effective when the words actually come out, that we can give from that perspective, and that detaches some of the karma and some of the attachments and other things that we usually have with the words that we say, with the thoughts we have and the actions we have. We usually have our personal stuff involved in it somehow, and that's how arguments come up, and that's how not seeing the other's perspective comes up, because we get attached to our own perspective and forget about the perspective of the totality. So that's one idea.
It is a beautiful table of opening discussion and interaction and views. We know that when we create wishes, as they are confirmed, that they work. We have numerous of confirmations. Can we elevate humanity in this way? Can we set that process in motion for it to take place very fast?
Well, I think we have. I think that's a great part of the work of the Keshe Foundation over many years, is some people, just when they hear that there's this organization that's working toward world peace and has incorporated this, a multi-dimensional aspect to it that satisfies them, that there's a science happening and a physicality stuff happening, and at the same time there's a spiritual aspect, and all of this multi-dimensional things that only the Keshe Foundation is able to do. Just hearing about that is often enough to activate someone that's gone through their whole life and they haven't gotten the answers that for that unasked question that they have of who am I and what can I do on this planet that makes any difference, and all the big questions. And suddenly they come up with this idea. It's just the idea of the organization, the idea of what Mr. Keshe puts forward, the idea of the knowledge seekers that are working together and so on. just that concept is enough to awaken people, to allow them to get to the next step where they can have a clearer picture of who they are and what their position is on the planet, and that they truly are a creator, and so on and so forth, all these repercussions of this knowledge. And I think that's a wonderful thing, that just hearing about that this knowledge might be available is often enough to awaken someone to want to go out and find out more about it, because somehow it satisfies this burning inner question, this thing that somehow something isn't right in the world, and I don't know what it is, but I can't see, I can't see the example of the correct way to move forward. Or perhaps they can find that within the work of the Keshe Foundation and the teaching. So it's already happening is my point, but we can perhaps help that snowball effect, and maybe we have to do that more and more to prevent the actions, let's say, of the hyperactive children, as we like to call them, and others on the planet that would cause more suffering rather than less. I only see one person with their hand up now, and that's Dan. So perhaps I'll let Dan have something to say here.
Yes, good morning, good day, everybody. It's not personal way. It's each other. It's all knowledge seekers. It's find a way in serve the others. My example, it's from 2 or 3 souls from Ketis, which means it's a person with making translation and transcribe from knowledge from Mr. Keshe in Romanian language. The other person is Mr. Shandor, which means I learning from this great man how to change point of my point of view, and how giving to the other from others from my soul. I tried. I don't know. Is it correct? My soul, no, it's my way. It's correct way, but it's not need for confirmation. I need only. I see confirmation, the same pattern, same way from the other knowledge seeker. Okay, what it means? I put in Romania is very many regional groups. In one which I make another time, I want Rick or insane, Signora Carolina, be the magnet in the table. I wish unified this group all in one. In my wish, I started to action in this way. How? Putting every members in each group, in every group, and spreading the knowledge, not my knowledge, spreading what I receive from Mr. Keshe and Signora Carolina, Rick, and everybody, the other groups in other language, spreading from all. When you don't not receive from one channel, you are sure, because you have friends, you have the other knowledge seekers with access your from your knowledge or your question, somebody answer, always. And when I stop to spreading, the people asking what's happened, where is it? I want to know more. And coming very, very, very much and very many peoples, new peoples. I don't know if you, when I have time or I don't have time, making little translation, participate in all kind of groups in very diverse language. I learned to listen with my soul, and I achieve what is my will, wish. When I say I want from everybody is unified, and I want to thanks Caroline and everybody else for what I achieve through you. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Dan. So what does that look like when you are in a group, say, and you're giving from your soul? Does that mean you interact with them verbally as well, or you might write something, or do you just do it internally with yourself, like inside yourself?
Both. In talking in language, in verbal language, I answer, I put a question, I interpret, I communicate, I thinking with the person in, I don't know, in social media. And I thinking, it's how it's close to me. No, it's one big family. For me, I say Ursula from Spanish or somebody else from French group or from English group. For me, it's one big family. I interact with everybody, and my point of view is changing. I make it changing from my soul, from inside to outside, in both ways.
Okay, very good. Thank you. Okay, we have Marinez with your hand up here. Would you like to go ahead, Marinez?
Yes. Hello? Hello? Hello?
Yes, we can hear you. It's a little distant. Maybe get a bit closer to the microphone or turn down your speakers as well. Thank you.
Okay. Yes, I'll do that. Okay. Hello, Mrs. Keshe. Nice to hear you again. In fact, hello.
Yeah, thank you. I was cut off. Mr. Keshe called me out. I go out.
When I hear these things about America attacking Iran, honestly, I have more pity for America. Why? When I was in a trip in Iran 2 weeks ago, it was 15th of Shaban. That's the anniversary of Imam Mahdi. The night before, everywhere was illuminated. People were happy like anniversary, especially south of Tehran, where they are really traditional and not very rich people. And then when I was in a taxi, when the taxi stops in front of the red light, people with big trays, they were giving us the ice cream, the cake, and like if you wanted 4 ice cream, they gave you. And they were giving it freely to everybody, no matter who is in the taxi, poor, rich, foreigner, Iranian. Like they are giving it, and they are so happy to give it. And I was wondering, where can I see that in the world? They give and they're happy to give. And and then I told myself, they are giving. And the day after, there was a lot of food given, there was a lot of cakes. Everywhere in the street, there is tray, they offer you cakes and all that. And the syrup, like drink, sweet drinks. I was emotional. I say, these people are giving a lot of magnetical, so they will be given a lot also. And I see in them a lot of call, a lot of real faith of something, which they are not afraid of anything. Like these years when I go, I say, if there's something happening in the world, these people are so strong, they can, doesn't affect us. I absolutely am sure. They are so strong inside. The more they had difficulties, the more they got strong. And the young people are like 520 universities, villages, everywhere. And they are so intelligent. They know a lot of things about the world, about internet. They have such thirst to learn. The housewives read a lot of books, and they're so strong. The children are so well raised because all TV, radio is good words, polite words, poetry, how to behave correctly. Everything is so soft. It's so much for the good things, good act. And they, it's all the time going in the radio, TV, everything. And of course, there's some satellite TV which have the exportational the serials, which is against moral code, moral values, and most people look at that also. But they are so giving. And I'm sure it's their tradition. In the traditional, when they pray, at the end, they pray for the whole world and them themselves. Like they say, if I want something to be achieved, first I have to pray for the others. And I'm sure they will be so kind and so receptive for everybody, American, whatever, that nobody can believe it. They are very strong, very generous. And there was a video when there was the problem of the flood. There was a video of a village with helicopter. They gave them food and things like that, and they give it back, and they say, go to the other village. They need it. We don't need it. Like this kind of fraternity and some kind of faith. I mean, it's not always like that also, but in the people who have faith and right or wrong, it's like that's the only thing. They keep themselves with it. And I'm sure nothing will happen to them. I mean, I'm sure that these people can can change every catastrophe to a good thing, because they are giving, and they are in heart, they are attached to something, which is good. They talk about good and bad. They encourage a lot of good things. Even in the metro, they write about with flowers, with trees, how to be nice, to give the place to somebody else, to help somebody else who is in problem. A lot of these things everywhere in the street, in the metro. So I saw these people. I was ashamed of myself, which was outside and didn't grow like them in calm and in their sort of calm. I don't know how they get it. Nobody talks in the metro, in the bus. I don't know how they get it, because actually there is a problem of their money doesn't have much worth, but they are still surviving very calm. They have their family reunions. They go to a lot of travel trips. I don't know how they do that. And also, I remember when we were child, our grandparents, our parents, we have the legitimate money and income and the illegitimate income, and they pray that their they bring home the legitimate income, means a money which is halal, which is honest. So there was a differentiation in the culture about legitimate money and illegitimate money. Like if you steal and you bring that money, that brings bad luck for you, for children and all that. So these people are very zealous about these values of right money, right relationships, they care about who is the father of my child. Like, it's not that liberty we see in the West. And honestly, I think America should be afraid sincerely, because these people, 80 millions, are so intelligent, so strong inside. They have seen so many things during these years, after all the fast of Shah and everybody had money and car and everything. And they got down to a poverty and religion stuff. At the time was difficult. And now there is two generation which has been raised like that. And they are very strong inside. And plus they have money, they have power. I think if America attacks in Iran, they are able probably to attack all the center of profit for America, to explode it in 1 minute at the same time in the whole world, because they cannot tolerate it. They have zeal, like, I don't bother you, but if you bother me, I prefer to be killed than tolerate your injustice. You know, this kind of attitude they have. But at the same time, very hospitable, very open. Like in Iran, we had a genocide of British people during the war. I think it was Second War. They got all the food and wheat and rice of Iran to give it to the soldiers. The British did that. And Iran at the time was 20 million. After the war was 9 million. So 11 million Iranians died by the genocide of taking their food to give to the soldiers. And they have never stood up to, okay, I lost 11 million of my young people, so you have to damage, to give damage. Nobody talks about that. No, it's the past. I mean, they are such forgiving people, right? So, and it's a pity, because I think there's a good relation between American people and Iranian people. A lot of students, a lot of people who are the very good students who work in sensitive places in American administration or whatever. So it's a really, they have good relationship between people. It's a pity to, for I don't know what reason they want to destroy all that, because if they ask the humanity, what's your opinion about American aggressions? And what's your opinion about the war by America to Iran? I'm sure the majority would no to America. I'm absolutely certain. So if it's the majority rule, I don't think the world accepts another war to a country like Iran, which has a lot of popularity in Arabic countries in the world now. So I think the majority votes no for America. So I don't know why they talk about this, because who is losing is anybody who attacks these people who have never aggressed anybody. For hundreds of years, Iran has never attacked any neighbor, because in the culture, it's not acceptable if you say, I'm going to aggress this person for money. They reject you. It's against all our poetry, all the values we were told in this school. That we were proud that Kurosh, every time he opened a country, he gave the religious and liberty and liberty to act as their customs. We were fed with these values, and it's in the blood of every Iranian to be proud of this. So so the idea of aggression for money, for land, and these things are very badly looked at for Iranians, even the poor people, anybody. So I just wanted to say they are very giving, very forgiving, and they would be more than happy to take any American, any everything in their arms, and it's a pity to create a disbalance in the world for. I don't think the world population accepts such a thing. Thank you for listening.
Thank you, Mehran. Okay. Any comments? I see there's several comments in the chat here. Mark mentions, when I mentioned to people that we are creating Keshe Foundation, one planet, one nation, one race for world peace, so many souls light up. And then I asked them to go and to sign the World Peace Treaty. So thank you, Mark, for that work that you do.
Unknown caller.
Excuse me. The call of the unknown caller there. We'll put them on permanent hold. Okay, so I'm told that Alex had his hand up earlier. Alex, did you have something you wanted to say? Okay, apparently not. Anyone else would like to go forward with something? Stella mentions we should give energy to peace and not to the details. We should release all conflicts to focus in today's peace and unification through collaboration. And furthermore, she says, we need a brainwash to see what is important for the elevation of the soul of the man.
Unknown caller.
what would be the reason to hold back, to create? I hope a lot of people today which are present have listened or were present in the last Thursday morning teaching. We are already carrying the key. If you remember, when the requests were going out to pour the ganses in the waters, in the rivers, in the fountains, Mr. Keshe said, you will reach every being on this planet because the waters are all interconnected with one another. So we already did the first elevation. Everybody has been in touch with the CO2 water because that was the majority of the water which was released in the waters. The ones which have poured the GANS waters out, and then the people which have start creating the MAGRAF systems have gone to the second level. Then the people which have done the star formations, they have gone to the third level. And then Mr. Keshe's request was go to a higher level up into the mountains. That was number 4. So we already have created the dome through our GANS waters. We all know that those plasma waters, CO2, zinc, CH3, they all have been released with the most beautiful wishes, unlimited, to baptize the whole and the totality of humanity. Why should we be afraid to create a wish where we are all present in and connect through even the presence of those gases in a plasma state all over this planet to create the reality the way we are all longing for, which is a peaceful condition? The plants, the animals, the fishes, the fauna, flora, the bees, the wasps, the humans, you name it, it's been even raining all back down to us. So it has gone already through a full process because that request started 3 years ago. What are we afraid of? To create a condition and to be present in the wish to elevate the totality. But it's not so much the animals which are received the warning, it's the humanity or some humans that have received the warning. But we don't exclude nobody. So, but if we this way really go to work for the elevation of the human soul, because an animal doesn't kill unnecessary, it only takes what it needs. It's the greed of the humanity which is apparently in our way and our fears and our beliefs and God knows what. But if we have been so free and so generous in our releasing, which we even actually do every day, because if you have used GANS water on your plants, they go in the ground. They go in the circulation. If you've been washing your plates and you've been taking a bath with your GANS waters or your paint patches or whatever, it's gone back into the circulation. So we have created that field of beauty. Why not activate it more in its totality? Because it's already present. Why holding back? I've seen a lot of hesitation in the comments posted. That is the main factor, what I was referring to, that fear point. To give 100% freely, unconditionally. We already did it. Now it's about the elevation of the totality of the humanity. So that they don't, through the knowledge of knowing what is the difference between right and wrong, to elevate that point, that pivot point, to make that right choice, that is what it comes all down to. We see them choosing the peaceful way. If we see that already done, then it's done. We have the fields already there existing, the plants, your whole environment. Tom Salas was the best example that the oasis around this planet has already taken place. Although the storms are still passing. It didn't stop the storm, but look at the beauty, what it was achieved there. How we can establish this for the totality of this whole planet.
Through the GANs, through the amino acid, through be in self, connected at level of soul, of physicality, of water of ocean, of field of planet, all create this environment and dome.
Yep. Everybody is breathing, drinking, consuming the GANs condition. Because the fields of the magraphs are not limited to a few meters, nor the star formations. There are a lot of questions of people coming and asking about the generators. And Mr. Keshe was very clear. He says the output is more than 100 watt. We can't find a way how to reduce the output. It just flattens and puts things on fire. We are working to find a solution for this. He even said that your magraph system, the output is only the 3 kilowatt because you put that limit on it, but the magraph doesn't have a limit. It's all our perception of what is in reality. We are working with the matter state and not looking at the plasma field state. Our soul is unlimited. That's when we, through our physicality, create the wish. Then it manifests itself in the matter state. That's the whole transition, what we are giving. I will see if I can find, I will try to see if I still have it. If you allow me to share, Rick, I will take, if I can find it, I will bring it forward. Just give me a second. You're going to hear me tapping because I'm searching for it as usual. Ah, there it is. Well, I already got it. Can I share it?
You should be able to there. Yeah, I'll stop the sharing. It might be easier for. Yep, go ahead.
This is not the original picture. It's a screenshot which I took from somebody passing. And this picture was and came up in the Rome Peace Conference and the Universal Council meeting. The man will come to accept this new technology, not out of love, but out of fear of his own existence, Mr. Keshe. That few days, we already erased, I think it was 3 or 4 letters from this text. Because we were working with wishes at that moment. and they took shape within a few hours, within a few days. And there comes the confirmation again, and this is from what, 3-4 years ago, if I'm not mistaken. And each wish has had the same impact. Shall we start creating a wish to elevate the totality of humanity? Because I'm 100% sure that the last sentence of Mr. Keshe, but out of fear of his own existence, I think that only applies for a few. And I think the knowledge seekers are in majority to go positive.
Hello,
Yes.
hello, it's Pia here. I just want to say some words for inspiring. I don't know how to formulate it, but it's just that the positive is that we are aware that we have the power. We really have the power to give it the last push. Humanity, we have got so far right now, so I just want to add to that. I don't know how we can maybe put it in the wish. And I just think that the idea to focus about it this week, it's very good that we could uplift this wish we are now creating and focus on it the next week, all of us, and spread it. It can give this power, it can give this push. It's like we have a ball laying there in the mountain, and we just have to push it and then it will fly. I have this feeling. So we have to just do it more focused right now.
Thank you, Pia.
Thank you.
You see, if I may take an example, just an example, in the last few blocks of Estella, if I may so, when we confirm what is out of place, then we keep it in place. It is only when we create a new position in the light we want to see it, that is where the change is. As Mr. Keshe explained, we do not ask for justification. We do not ask for any explanation why was and what was in the past. He says, we only want to see the change, because once the change takes place, that is where the confirmation comes of the change. I try to explain this to a lot of people, even in the wishes. When you confirm something is done, and Stefania brought something very interesting in the soul teaching. She said, Mr. Keshe didn't start at the beginning. He started at the end. He said, everything is already there. And that's the point from where we started. We confirm we are peaceful. We confirm we are the totality. We confirm we are. I am. And that's the only thing that we need to do. Because if we start with what is wrong, we can't work. Those tools will just keep the things in place as they have been. So how do we change something if we know that we have made a cake the wrong way and it came flat out of the oven? Shall we not look for the recipe to make sure that that cake this time will be baked the perfect way, coming out of the oven, that everyone enjoys it? I think that is the perspective of us as knowledge seekers. We have that advantage to create everything new in a bright light, in a positive way. And that is the impact we will have on all the others. Give them the freedom to enjoy because they're part of us. Identifying what we are, how we are, who we are, and work from that point. What can we improve? How do we really want to be? We want to be the happy souls and uplift the whole and the totality. You are capable, but you got to start from the point, what am I? What is my decision today to be? Because that decision changes all the others. That's exactly what the Ganses did. That's why we saw all those changes right across the planet. People sent pictures and videos where they were releasing the Ganses. I hope that we will take that journey up again when the spring comes and we release a new portion of fresh Ganses and new wishes. Because we know we will reach every single thing on this planet alive, even the condition of Mother Earth. So if we are not holding back there, why should we hold back on wishes? I had a conversation today, or since yesterday. I released the way Mr. Keshe explained how to feed yourself through the Ganses in the palm of the hand. And I got a lot of showers of questions. And I said, you only take what you need. So that even counts. And Mr. Keshe always said, you only take what you need. And that counts for the souls which are there. They will receive from you what they need. You cannot dictate, we don't dictate what they will receive, but it's there. It's like creating a pool of love and care where they can just go and swim in it. And literally the way we are working, we are just showering them with love and care. As Rick has explained, and that was quite a few time ago, you can't change a storm when it's on the path of going through somewhere. Mr. Keshe is even bringing all the solutions to change even the condition of the planet Earth, not to go in the path which it had to take because of we are changing the condition by mining God knows what out of our planet. The knowledge has brought the solutions for all those problems which we have created for ourselves and the damages we have created. And we cannot say, and that was a question mark, yeah, but I haven't done that. I wasn't part of that. But Mr. Keshe always puts it right. He says, you consume too, so you're part of it. You vote, so you are part of. Because if the opposite is strong enough, then it will not be carried out. And this is the balance which we are now about to create. The balance of the opposite. We have all heard the good news of all the countries which are coming in line with the One Belt, One Road. It's an amazing journey. But the beauty is that they are signing themselves into the World Peace Treaty. So the foundation is working. The foundation is bringing out whatever Mr. Keshe has promised, he has delivered. I just don't want him to deliver the last message he made on last Thursday. That's why I brought it up today on the table. We are the change. We can create the change with love and care. Anybody, any ideas?
I'm done. I'm already changed myself for everybody else. No, it's not properly, because everybody else is inside me and I am inside of everybody.
Thank you, Balis. Anybody wants to start writing?
Estella had written earlier when she was relaying why people do what they do and so on, why they're in conflict. She mentions because people have been manipulated to stay in conflict, but the truth releases us from the mind manipulation. Okay.
And there will come the explanation of Mr. Keshe. When Mehran asked the question to Mr. Keshe last week, when she said this, she brought the same topic on the table. And she said, but what if, you know, the youngsters are getting manipulated or they're put or maneuvered in a situation that, you know, they choose the wrong path, they do the wrong things. And Mr. Keshe said it's not because of that you don't know the difference between right and wrong. It still is up to you what decision you're going to make. That does not lie in even the hands of the people which are creating the conditions. You find these in a lot of writings, especially in the holy writings. You find it a lot. They refer to prefer you to die than to kill or take another man's life. And one of the commandments is, thou shalt not kill. And what excuses have we brought on the table? I just passed it again on when I was looking for this picture, that soldiers are getting the blessing of the church to go to shoot people. So I think this is something which brings the point back to the reference point. Everyone knows the difference between right and wrong. We have evolved to that level. We know it. The funny thing is, even how funny it is that even your animal knows the difference between right and wrong. You can see it. If you're close enough to your animal and you observe him, they know. It's built in us. We all evolved to that level. It's just a matter how much do we listen to the right and the wrong. That's a different matter.
Well, that brings up again the example that you brought up with the children. What is it that prevents them from seeing the difference between right and wrong? And, you know, maybe it's whatever, something that they desire is right in their face. And maybe that, you know, ice cream that they really, really want so bad, and they had to, you know, take some money from mom's purse or something to buy the ice cream. And even though they might have known that it was wrong to do that, they were just overcome by that illusion of how good that ice cream would taste, or whatever thing it is that they are desiring at that time.
I think maybe a few of us have gone through that dilemma when we were children. We took something that was not supposed to be taken to get something that was not supposed to be consumed, which was so delicious. Now go back to that feeling. You know straight away, you knew that you could not do that. And it's that sickening feeling, which when you do it, and the fear which creeps up to you, that should have stopped you, should have withheld you from doing it. And it's that beauty that we can activate in people, that they get that sensation the same way as that little child would take that little extra to get that little extra goodie, not to do so because the correction will come. And that is what we can increase in humanity. That wish to stay with what you said, Rick. I just learned, I taught myself, and I know I feel it. You can call it intuition, you can call it whatever you want. But that instant feeling that you're doing something wrong, and that sickening feeling, this is what we should wake up to, put people in that always going into the right direction, or at least we can create the right direction for them. That is the wish I'm looking for. It doesn't have to be complicated. It's to activate for them to make the choice that they don't receive the correction on their path, which that is very a loving way, because you prevent so much, you know, the consequences of when they found out when you took that extra for that extra ice cream. That was that not so pleasurable. So the taste of the pleasure of the ice cream has disappeared very fast, I think.
Well, there's a word for that phenomenon, which is conscience, which is different than conscious or consciousness. But conscience is our inner voice that tells us when we're doing something incorrect or correct, or whatever. It's that reminder that comes out in that moment. We know somehow, and it's a little bit of a sick feeling usually, that we're not doing something right and we're going to end up paying somehow. But we usually justify our actions in some way that's just, you know, I deserve that ice cream, and it's going to be okay because mommy will understand, because I really, really wanted the ice cream, and you know, I get what I want in my life, so I'm going to have it. Or whatever justification for whatever actions that we take in that manner. But the little voice knows that that action is not correct, let's say, and that inevitably means there'll be repercussions at some point. But it's more that it's in the moment that's when we have the ability to listen to the little voice, or to cover it up. And perhaps, I think there's part of what's happening on the planet is a move to this uncovering, to what's called transparency, and to honesty, and to integrity in actions, and so on. And whenever that doesn't happen, then it becomes really accented nowadays. We see that we see that there's things that politicians, politicians make choices and so on. And now we're finding out a lot of the background and hidden decisions that go into those big decisions, and all the interactions and some of the, let's say, less than truthful things that occur in the background. And now the politicians can't get away with it as much. And so it's becoming really obvious, and it makes them often look like fools because they think they've been fooling the public, but it's actually now coming back in their face because of this transparency and the prevalence of media and cameras everywhere and tape recorders, and or not tape recorders, that's an old expression, recording devices or means. So if we know that everything is being recorded and everything is being witnessed, then perhaps we would change our behavior. And this goes right up to the top and right down to children. So, I mean, if you, what do you tell children once they've done something bad and, you're out for an outing in public or something? If they do something bad, then you usually say, well, I'm going to watch you now. I've got my eye on you. You be good. And that usually changes their behavior. If they know they're being watched, then they evaluate their behavior. Is this something that's going to get me in trouble, or am I going to be okay with this? And so on. So perhaps that act of observation, objective, impartial observation, is enough in itself to change the behavior. And if, in essence, the world or the mankind is starting now to observe itself, to turn its attention inward and actually be conscious of its actions and of its words and thoughts and deeds, basically, then perhaps that is what's required, is just the simple act of observation. If we were to be able to observe these world leaders in all of the details, which we're becoming more and more able to do so, then their motivations and their the reasons why they do the things they do become more and more obvious to even the ordinary people, and obvious to themselves. And perhaps they wouldn't make some of those decisions if they were to thoroughly have a look at that vision of what's actually going on, what they're actually doing. Because sometimes decisions are just made sort of off the top of the head without fully considering all the repercussions, and that seems to be often the case. Peggy mentions, so funny, Caroline, even the animals like Topoli, my dog talks back too when I catch her doing something wrong, and she wants to keep doing it, just like a child. But usually, even with the dogs, if you catch them a couple of times and let them know that that's not okay, then generally they correct their behavior.
We wish
part of house training, it's called. We have to, maybe we need basic house training instructions for humans. House training for humans. How to live
I
on
love
planet Earth as a trained animal.
I love it, Rick. That is perfect. This is Peggy. Yes, and the funniest part is it's always things that she knows is wrong to do. And as soon as I look at her even, she'll bark at me like, no, I'm going to do it anyway. Just like a child. It's like, I know I did bad, but I really want to do this. And so, I was just thinking that a lot of people say, oh, it's just instinct. And of course, they apply that to human behavior as well. Oh, it's just instinct. But what I've learned over time is that it's not instinct, it's learned behavior. And it's learned because we have been taught incorrect or half of the information. So it's relearning correctly. And so what we talk about as being quote unquote instinct is not always that. It's more of learned habits that we need to correct. Thank you, guys.
I think that's a good point, Peggy. Yes.
Question.
Go ahead, Dan.
We wish to listen the conscience from illuminate. No, I know how to listen my consciousness. If you work for us, not me, is properly between we, consciousness like a witness, and the others like a totality.
You brought something very interesting, Rick. You know that specific word you said, it's not conscious? It's an other word?
Conscience. I'm trying to spell it. I'm having trouble with it here. I'm going to have to look it up.
Yeah, but can you also find the explanation of that word? The meaning, the exact meaning of it, the way you explained it.
Okay, now I know the spelling and it's interesting. It's conscience is conscience. So it's conscience, or in other words, with science would be the way the word breaks down. But let's see what Wikipedia or some other authority says about that.
Turning back in myself, a right patent.
Well, it says conscience from the Wikipedia. It says conscience is a cognitive process that elicits emotion and rational associations based on an individual's moral philosophy or value system. The dictionary says conscience, and let me just share this so that people can see it as well. So conscience is an inner feeling or voice viewed as acting as a guide to the rightness or wrongness of one's behavior. So I'll just read that again, and maybe I'll try to that's from the dictionary. If I can make this bigger. There we go. Okay, so conscience, conscience, an inner feeling or voice viewed as acting as a guide to the rightness or wrongness of one's behavior. And it does mention that conscience is sometimes confused with conscious. So let's look up conscious just to be aware of the distinction here. And it says conscious is aware of and responding to one's surroundings, or awake, or also having knowledge of something, to be painfully aware of or sensitive to be concerned with or worried about a particular matter, and something deliberate and intentional. And also directly perceptible to and under the control of the person concerned. And it does have, strangely enough, this is interesting, it has its roots in the Latin conscriere, to be privy to, conscious, to knowing with others or in oneself, and it actually ends up into conscious, being aware of wrongdoing, which came from the late 16th century. So the origins of the word conscious are actually very close to conscience as well. So I think there's a connection there. And if we look at the word conscious, to go beyond just an awareness of one's surroundings, but it's actually the actual method or the method of operation, or the perspective of being conscious, of being in that state of consciousness, as opposed to a state of not knowing or being unaware or unsensitive or not deliberate and unintentional. It's the opposite of that, of be conscious. It mentions a conscious effort to walk properly. So if we think about walking, for example, then if we walk deliberately and intentionally, we would be working in a conscious manner. Like normally we walk without thinking about it, without deliberately and intentionally walking, is to get from point A to point B. We don't have to think about it. We don't have to observe it or be even aware of it. We just walk. On the other hand, we can walk and be conscious at the same time. Okay, so that's interesting. So conscience, back to conscience as that inner feeling or voice, acting as a guide to the rightness or wrongness of one's behavior. So could we make that as part of our wish, perhaps?
Yep, I think so. Because if we create, as it's done, that humanity is working through that, I think we will have achieved what we wanted.
Yes, I believe so. Okay, we'll go back to our wish here. And this is what Dan brought up, where he was talking about listening to that conscience. He was stumbling with the word a bit there, but that's the word I think that we need. And if I put in the definition here.
Yeah, that would be nice, because some people know what it is referring to.
Or maybe I'll just make it a little differently.
And instead of I listen to my conscious, humanity is listening to its conscious.
I said from working, changing I with we, everybody, totality.
Well, is there a totality conscience? This is a question, I suppose. Is there an inner feeling or voice to humanity?
Yep.
And it's wake. No, when I sleep is better, but I'm wake. We are.
So, how would I write it here then?
Both terms, no? When you are wake up and listen your inner voice, no? Humanity, it's wake up, second terms, conscience and conscience. 2 words when you're reading from Wikipedia. Use both because it's the fact. When we turn in origin, no, when I turn in myself, right? It's for seeing it's better or right. It's act its position in and knowing what I do. Utilize both terms.
Mm-hmm. So it's consciousness with conscience. We must.
Yes.
Jeez, what's going on here?
I think practice can be changed with conduct. We humanity conduct in consciousness with conscience. And I think that we have to add in the peaceful manner, because still this you can use either way. Because you can justify something for what is for someone else painful. So if we put it in the most beautiful way, in a peaceful way, then it doesn't create harm.
Manner or behavior.
In a peaceful manner? Is that what you say?
It's a question, manner or behavior, or like a road, like a straight line. It's the question, what term utilize?
I think peaceful manner will be more appropriate. because with this way you create the two reference points.
My ring bell, it's when I make the how to say peledoka, goose, when hair it's rising, no rising.
Goosebumps.
Yes, yes.
Or the hair stands up in your neck.
And not only. This is my system of alarm of ringing bell, but sometimes it's my inner voice. No, Rick, it's okay how you are putting. No, this is it's my thought regarding what you're reading. The bell, it's okay. Feel inside, it's okay.
It's very nice to put the explanation with it. There's no guessing what it is about. That's nice.
Can I put in, we humanity conduct ourselves in consciousness? Something seems to be missing there with the conduct. Or is it okay the way it is? Because if I put in ourselves, it kind of breaks it down, and I don't know if we want to break it down, if we want to include humanity as one unit. How about we humanity conducts itself in consciousness? Would
It's like already is done, because it's already done.
How about through consciousness with conscience?
That seems good. Maybe conducts through consciousness with conscience in a peaceful manner. Conduct maybe is better, actually.
And in the accolade, putting the significance of both terms for knowing what is one and what is the others.
Right, okay.
Thank you very much. This is very simple, very short, but it will have an impact. That's exactly what was in my wish, to activate the point of humanity, knowing the difference between right and wrong. And this way we have it. It's beautiful. Thank you very much.
We
Yes.
thank you. I thank you, and we thank you. We thank, like Jalal say, we thank you.
Thank we.
Because it's one.
This wish will definitely go out very fast. We are present. Thank you, Rick. That's beautiful. I am present.
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 We are present.
We are present.
I am present.
We are present.
Oh, thank you. That's one of the best I am present presentations I've heard, I think. It was nice hearing all the voices coming through at once, because that's what it really is. One voice. Also, I will transfer this to the document. Along with Gatua's wish there, which we haven't actually read yet. I'll transfer that to the document that's currently being developed on the KF Wiki site, which is the reflection of our public wish document. So all of this will be on the KF Wiki site as well.
Can somebody read the wish in its totality, please?
Sorry, the wish in its totality, is that what you said? This current wish?
Yes,
is that
please.
what you want? Okay, I'll read it. We, humanity, conduct through consciousness with conscience in a peaceful manner. Conscience defined as an inner feeling or voice viewed as acting as a guide to the rightness or wrongness of one's behavior. Consciousness as aware of and responding to one's surroundings, awake. We are present, May 7th, 2019.
Thank you, Rick. Does anybody wants to share more, or shall we call it a day?
We did have Gatawa's donation here that we should read as well, that I had posted. And he says, we give through our souls for the elevation of all human souls that allows human beings to live in eternal peace with themselves and with all other beings of the universe and beyond.
If I may give a tip, Dr. Gatwa, instead of to live, to change it in that all human beings live in eternal peace with themselves, then you change the context of the wish in it's already done. Are you there, Dr. Gatwa?
I'm not sure if he's available to come to the microphone right now.
Yeah.
Oh, hi. Hi, Gatwa.
My internet connection. This
Oh, you're breaking up.
He says something about his internet is not good. I heard that part, and I think he said the change was okay. Is that right, Gatwa?
it's already done because allows means it's already done. As allowed.
Sorry, you're breaking up, and I can't understand what you're saying there.
Can you type it in Messenger, Dr. Gatwa? We can't hear a word. You're really breaking up.
I have a internet connection, so it's not clear. But this wish, the way I have written it, is already done. Because that vision allows human beings, so it's already done.
Begin, live. Sorry.
And I have posted another one. There is another one posted.
Okay, got it.
I don't know. Begin to live is not like a point of reference in start now coming. It's not a opposite of already done. Begin to live. Begin without begin and not live. It's being, existing. It's not only living. It's my personal thoughts. I don't know. It's better or right, but I bring out. Depends of Dr. Gatwa. When you say begin, it's not like a circle. It's not starting and
Where
begin.
where does it say begin?
Human beings. Oh, okay. Sorry, I make mistake. It's not begin.
Okay.
It's being. Okay.
Yes,
Sorry.
yes. Okay. Okay, so, well, maybe we can just leave that one. This has got to us contribution. So maybe we can leave it as is unless...
Rick, thank you, Dr. Gatwa. I am present in your wish. Jamila. Jamila.
John Wells, your microphone's open. I'm not sure if you know about that. I'll probably mute you here unless you have something to say. Go ahead, Carolina, again.
Yeah. Is Jamila available? Jamila.
Don't see her here.
Is she out? Or most probably she's been, I didn't see her disappearing. I saw her a few minutes ago.
I don't see the name here now.
No, she's out. Okay, then it's gonna have to wait till next week because she had a good idea to bring another wish from the council. We'll see. No, she's no longer there. I'm very happy with the wish and with today. It was a beautiful session. Thank you, all of you. We are here to bring the peace and we are here to bring the change. And I do request for all the knowledge seekers to go back out again with their Gans waters and baptize your environment. And wherever you travel, give freely from your plasma waters in a peaceful manner. Because every single being on this planet will receive your blessing. Thank you very much.
Okay, well, if there's no further business here, then I guess we can wrap up today's program. Is there anything else to announce or discuss? Anyone want to bring anything else up? All right, great. Thank you, everybody, for attending this 75th One Nation, One Planet, One Race for World Peace for May 7th, 2019. And thank you, everyone, for attending and participating in today's workshop. Okay, I think Flint will take us out. Bye for now.
Thank you, team. Bye.
Thank you, Carolina.
We are the Keshe Foundation. Our mission is to bring peace on earth and join humanity with the universal community. We wish and work to bring man as equal to all beings in the universe. By teaching plasma science and technology equally to everyone, no one is left out and no one is abused due to lack of knowledge. By donating to us, you can help achieve this goal. keshefoundation.org/donate.
Plasma products found at keshefoundation.org/store. Soothing, reusable plasma eye and migraine mask. Eliminate eye fatigue and relieve stress in eye area. European certified medical device. Massaging plasma insoles. Bring comfort back to your feet and energize your legs. European CE certified medical device. Antiseptic plasma liquid hand soap. Promotes well-being and relaxation with protective plasma formula. CE certified. One Soul Plasma T-shirt. GAN's formula within the symbols and stripes brings mind, soul, and body into balance. European certified. Pain Relief Pen. Emits a concentrated plasma field at point of pain, efficient up to 3 centimeters below the skin. CE certified. The Magrav's Energizer and Alkalizer raises pH and energizes water through magnetic and gravitational fields. CE certified medical device. Pain Relief Pad, a result of years of research in nanoplasma technology with magnetic and gravitational fields. CE certified medical device. Visit the online store at keshefoundation.org/store or find a distributor near you. Tax and shipping not included.